video production? Don't stress. Call the guys at Lighthouse Streaming. In business since 2017, Lighthouse Streaming has produced hundreds of live events and completed dozens of church and venue installations. Whatever your AV needs are, Lighthouse Streaming has you covered. Give them a call at 254-252-4206. That's 254-252-4206. Or go to lighthousestreaming.com and set up your free consultation.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. KWBT-FM, HD2 Waco, Temple, Killeen, Fort Cavazos. The new leader in sports in Central Texas is Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
Holy Jesus. What is that?
It's time to get in the game.
Do you know what time it is?
Tune in to Primetime Sports Talk with Jalen Gillis.
To me, you are nothing.
Your go-to source for breaking sports news in Central Texas and exclusive Dallas Cowboys coverage.
Start it up, let's go.
Catch us Monday through Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. on the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into Centex Prime Time. I am your host, Jalen Gillis, getting ready to take you through the prime time topics in sports, not just only in the Central Texas area, but from all around the nation. Hope everybody out there is having a great afternoon on this Tuesday afternoon, getting closer and closer to Christmas. It's about 2 weeks away, 15 days away, about 10 days away from my birthday. Shout out all the Sagittarius out there. As we get ready today to wrap up week 14 in the NFL, talk a little bit more about this college football playoffs. Just got the list on Sunday. Talk about these rankings, who got snubbed, who should have been in there, who should have been taken out. You know, I think it's a couple teams in there that are kind of shaky, at least the position where they're ranked at in there as well. And we'll also do my NFL top five lists I give out every single week. Tomorrow we're going to have MCC basketball on, so I'm going to do my NFL top five just a day early here today. Folks, I want to thank everybody that's been watching with us today and all week long, as it's been a fun couple days up here on the show so far early in this week. Got more coming to you. Like I said, MCC basketball tomorrow. Make sure you guys getting ready for that. That'll be at 5:30 right here on the time that we're usually doing the show. So make sure you guys are ready for some MCC basketball. They'll also be playing on Saturday as well. Right now, MCC undefeated on the season. Their women's team is. They're ranked number 10 in the nation. Been doing a phenomenal job so far this season. I want to thank everybody for tuning in with us. As always, make sure you go over to the YouTube, Centex Sports Network / Centex Sports TV. Go over there and hit that subscribe button. Also, click that bell so you can get notified whenever we go live here, 5 to 7 p.m. on weekdays. Or you can download the app on your mobile device if you want to be able to listen on Infinity Sports Radio Central Texas. You can go to your mobile device, download the app, Centex Sports 1. You'll be able to listen to this content 5 to 7 p.m. weekdays right here on Infinity Sports Radio Central Texas. Well, folks, week 14 is wrapped up in the NFL. Last night, the Dallas Cowboys and the Cincinnati Bengals faced off. It ended up being a good game. Me and PJ were on here yesterday, and we talked about this game, and we both expected it to be a good game, and it ended up being a good game. Now, I was a little bit off. I know y'all seen me post my overs and unders, the ones I got right this last weekend, but just under this time. I picked over 50 points last night's game that got to 47 points. I was hoping, for some overtime actually in that game for that blocked punt. I thought we were probably going to get overtime. Honestly, I thought it was going to be the Cowboys kicking the field goal and the Bengals going down and kicking the field goal and tying it up. Then we get some OT. But didn't get any of that as the Cincinnati Bengals came out with the victory in their game yesterday against the Dallas Cowboys. In that game, both teams played well. Both teams played well in that game. Cowboys came out and they came ready to play. Cooper Rush, not, a crazy stat line, but a stat line nonetheless that kept them in the game. The most impressive part about this is in which I said yesterday is, hey, give the ball to Rico Dowdell. Give the ball to Rico Dowdell. Rico did a phenomenal job yesterday in that game, and he's really come along over these last few weeks. Got to give him credit. Everybody talked about him, me included, whenever he was playing bad or playing just mid, honestly. Didn't do anything crazy. But these last couple of weeks, Rico Dowdell has been playing. Last night, 18 carries, 131 yards. Granted, it is against this very porous Cincinnati defense, but nonetheless, he's been playing great. Since that game they won against Washington, when they kind of started their 2-game win streak to try to make it into 3, since that game, they've gone out here, or he's gone out here in Washington, 19 carries, 86 yards. New York Giants, 22 carries, 112 yards and a touchdown. Then last night, topped that one off with 18 carries and 131 yards. So he's been playing great. He's been playing great over these last couple of weeks. And Rico Dowdell, a big reason on why the Cowboys were in this game. On the other side, the Cincinnati Bengals, 27-20 win for them. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase still doing their thing. Joe Burrow, I think, has been playing phenomenal all year long. I think really he's been playing like an MVP candidate, honestly. But you can't be an MVP candidate and you're that many games below 500 pretty much for this whole year. They're 5-8 now, but before that win last night, they only have 4 wins on the season. And we're in week 14. So that's never a recipe for winning any type of MVP. But Joe Burrow's been playing at that type of level. Last night, 33 for 44, 369 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick in that game. Got sacked a couple times, too, as well. Chase Brown, who's kind of turned into their number 1 back. They traded for Khalil Herbert, and, you know, they tried to find, I think they had Zach Moss at the beginning of the year, but Chase Brown has been their most reliable guy. He had 14 carries, 58 yards yesterday. And the man that really did everything for this team, Jamar Chase, 14 catches, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaging 12.5 yards a carry. Averaging 12.5 yards a carry, or a catch, excuse me. Longest catch was 40 yards in that game. I mean, he really, really did a great job yesterday and all season long. I've said it at the beginning of this year. When Jamar Chase gets targets, he is the best receiver in the league, in my opinion. He gets the same amount of targets everybody else gets, because he usually doesn't. When he gets the same amount of targets everybody else gets, that CD gets, that Jettas gets out there in Minnesota, Tyreek Hill, I think Jamar Chase is the best receiver in the league. Right now, a candidate to win the Triple Crown. First in receptions with 93. First in receiving yards, 1,300. First in receiving touchdowns with 15 touchdowns. I mean, we're talking about a guy that could finish with 20 touchdowns this year. Jamar Chase has been playing out of his mind. Only problem is him and Joe Burrow, the only ones that's been playing out of their minds so far this year. But between those two last night, they did enough to get a win. The Cowboys side, Cooper Rush, 16 for 31, 183 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick in that game. Got sacked a few times as well. Already said Rico Dowdell in that game, 18 carries, 131 yards. CeeDee Lamb, 6 catches, 93 yards, opened up the game with a touchdown on that 4th down play. I think Brandon Cooks got a touchdown for the first time in a while after he got that 3-yard touchdown that he had yesterday. So this was a great game, y'all. Honestly, I mean, Cowboys and Bengals didn't look like a lot going into it. Both of these teams with, only 4 or 5 wins on the season, but ended up getting a decent game on Monday Night Football. And the last couple Monday nights, it hadn't been too great. I mean, the Denver and Cleveland game was good too. Let me not say that. The Denver-Cleveland game was pretty good as well. But we did get a few fireworks out of this game, and it made for good television, as always, with the Cowboys. Now, after the game, Jerry Jones and these post-game conferences that he has, he's always going to give us some type of material, something to talk about in this game, and that's exactly what Jerry Jones did in this one. Again, he had comments to say, and I'll play that sound so you guys can hear what Jerry Jones had to say last night after the last-minute loss to the Cincinnati Bengals.
We made the mistakes out there. That mistake we made at the end was really, it was very impactful is all I can say. Okay.
Jerry, how much emotional whiplash is there going from the block to punt to having that early play?
Well, the odds are, the coach said we made the play and blocked the punt, but then we had a 1 and X happened when after blocking the punt, we touched the ball. That's all should be figured in if we decided to block the punt. We made the mistakes out.
So Jerry says the mistakes, they caught up to him, and he said maybe we just shouldn't have blocked the punt and just tried to catch the punt, because those are the things that happen when you block a punt. Like, who was finna go out there and say, oh, nah, we're not going for the block. We're not trying to force a turnover. Let's just catch it because we might end up fumbling it if we – no one's thinking like that. Nobody's thinking like that, Jerry. So for you to come out and say that, it's actually kind of funny, as if he's giving some type of football expertise by saying that, yeah, we'll just don't block the punt next time, and it'll be fine if you just don't block the punt. We'll just catch the punt. Yeah, we'll be able to drive down the field and kick a field goal. These are Jerry Jones' words, and he's trying to show off his football acumen once again, and somehow continues to come up lacking in doing that. And, it's kind of getting worse and worse throughout the season, these comments with Jerry Jones and the things that he's coming out and saying. He said, we got to treat these players like they're getting scholarships, and this guy's getting 4 or 5 scholarships, and this guy's only getting 2. I don't know what Jerry be talking about. And last night, he kind of continued to do that. Joining me in studio, got somebody that's always here on the show with me, and also a resident Cowboys fan, so he'll be able to break this down a little bit more. Mr. Rocky Miller in the building with me. Rocky, what's going on?
Yeah. I was at the game. It was very frustrating. So
you were in the building for it?
Yeah, I was in the building, man.
Yeah, I bet it was more frustrating.
My wife is from Cincinnati. She's a huge Bengals fan.
Okay.
She met some of her hometown friends at the game. I guess on that, had it not been for that, I wouldn't have been interested in going to the game. But again, especially on a Monday night.
Yeah.
But anyway, we went to the game, had an amazing time at the game. I will say this. Let me get the good part out the way first. Going to Jerry World is an amazing experience.
Oh, yeah.
From the time you pull up in the parking lot, walking over to the stadium, seeing all those people having a good time, celebrating their team, whatever, realizing that there's still a lot of people who support the Cowboys, even though in this downtime. So it was a great experience. But as far as the game, I can say this. I went to the game with no expectations. I saw from the very first kickoff, I saw how the team was determined to win the game. Like, you could tell by the energy that the team had. Not necessarily because the fans were kind of laid back and chilling, but we saw the effort of the team, and it kind of got us into the game.
Yeah.
Especially the defense. And so, you go there with not many expectations, and then hope arrives.
Yeah.
And then you go from hope to expectation.
Yeah.
To the game gets really intense, and man, it's a situation where you had a couple moments in that game where I realized this is just not our year. One, we go down, we're going to go up, possibly a touchdown. Cooper Rush has the ball. I think we're inside the 20-yard line. And on second down, when we're running the ball pretty successful, a pass play is called, and he throws it to a Bengals guy.
Yeah.
So that's when you realize, man, maybe this isn't it. Then Bengals end up going up, I want to say, 17-10. And so we go into halftime, and I'm like, well, I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And then you realize the defense re-engages. They're able to hold the Bengals, and we tie the game back up, man. And then you realize that these guys are going to play to the very end.
And you felt in that moment, like the play that we thought was a fumble that ended up being an incomplete pass, that play, I had called that play because you got to understand, in the stadium, you can feel the energy as it's being applied and the pressure that's being applied on the other team.
For sure.
And I felt it, and I look over to my wife. Joe Burrow was about to throw an interception. He doesn't throw an interception, but the guy bobbles the ball, and it looks to be a fumble, and it's later reversed. I still had hope at that point because the intensity was still there.
Oh, yeah.
And when number 27, whoever the hell he is, the moment he touched the ball, I realized, guess what? You know what, Rocky? This is all for naught. This is going to be a Cowboy loss. And it did surprise me when Jamar Chase caught the out and turned up, ran for a touchdown. It just, it just wasn't to be that night. And in this game, like many other games, Jerry Jones may have needed to give an explanation. This game was pretty cut and dry. We went in the game undermanned on the offensive side of the ball. The defense kept us in the game. The defense made the play. Well, the defense and the special teams made the play to win the game. And like our season has been, we haven't been able to do just the simple things that would equate to a victory. Like last night, we ran the football better than we had the entire season.
Whole season. 2 seasons, probably.
Yeah. With that kind of support, and Cooper Rush didn't play bad.
He didn't.
He had that play that he threw the interception, but all in all, he played well. There were some drops, but it just wasn't meant to be. When you have a play like that, it would be much better if he tips the punt, and that's what creates the confusion and the anarchy in that play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the punt was tipped, and I don't think the guy had a full understanding of what he was supposed to do in that moment, man. And I feel sorry for the guy.
Yeah.
You guys think these guys just know the rules and they have a rule book in their helmet.
Yeah.
They really, this is most block punts don't cross the line of scrimmage.
No.
You know what I mean? And so
he's thinking they got it regardless.
Yeah.
Whether I picked this up or not.
Yeah.
It's our ball because it's for punting and we punted it.
Or he may think it's coming at me. And
I think he was going for the scoop and
get
score.
Out the way, he just grabs it and and again, I'm sure he's a defensive player. I don't even know.
Yeah, he is. He's a corner. Yeah.
And I'm sure those guys are taught to attack the ball, and he wasn't going to run from the ball as the ball was coming right at him. So, again, guys, I mean, I feel sorry for the guy. It was a bad bounce. Had he been able to secure the ball and get to the ground, it wouldn't have been anything. But things happened the way they did, and much like our season has turned out, this season just wasn't meant to be, just like that win last night wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good things to take away from that game, like you said. I mean, they actually gave us a good game throughout the game, and Joe Burrow did his thing like we knew he was going to do, but I could kind of agree with Micah, like, hey, we did hold them to 20 points in the last 2 minutes, and they've been scoring 30 and 40 on everybody else in the league, so we weren't doing too bad out there. Now, Jamar Chase was going crazy, but at this point, that's just what he's going to do. He's probably finna win a Triple Crown this year. Yeah. And so seeing them go out there and do that, like you said, the ball just didn't bounce their way. That's what Joe Burrow said after the game, is that the ball finally bounced our way because the Bengals have had the same type of luck that the Cowboys have had this year. Just the difference is they got their quarterback in there, but they've had the same type of luck, I guess you could say, that the Cowboys have had. Last night just wasn't their night, like you said.
Like I say, the Cowboys made a play when they needed to play. They made a play. Like, I look at football like this, and this is one of the criticisms of Dak over the years, and really the Dallas Cowboys. Let's be honest. We get in some great situations as a franchise, whether it's winning 12 games 3 years in a row. Anyway, whether it was with Tony Romo or Dak Prescott, we get in some great situations, and unfortunately, we can't make the play that needs to be made. And so for that reason, a lot of people criticize the Cowboys. But not making the play when you're in position to make the play, is that such a failure? You understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I get what you're saying.
I can y'all call it, a lot of people say Jerry's delusional, this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, under his leadership, he's put the team in some great positions. And when Tony Romo throws that interception in 2007 against the Giants, he's in a position to make the play. When Dez catches that ball against Green Bay and they call it not a catch, he's in position to make the he put him in position, but they don't make the play. When Aaron Rodgers rolls out to the left and throws a dot down the sideline to
40 yards. Richard Rodgers, I think.
Whoever.
Don't even matter.
Throws a dot. They're in position to make the play. And for whatever reason, it hadn't went Jerry's way. But you can't put those kind of plays, just like you can't put the bounce, the block punt that would eventually be muffed by number 27. You can't put that on Jerry.
No.
So Jerry has done as an owner, in my opinion, if you really think about it, as much as he can do to put us in a situation to be successful, for whatever reason, the players haven't been able to make the play. You can blame that on Jerry if you want to, but I don't think that's an issue with the owner as much as it may be an issue with the culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hey, I made that exact argument earlier this year with I think Kyrell was on the show and saying that, all of this is Jerry's fault and he's the reason why we haven't won in 20-something years. I'm like, well, he ain't the reason y'all ain't won in 20-something years. There's been some mistakes why they ain't won in 20-something years. They won 12 games last year and played the worst record seed that got into the playoffs. Jerry didn't make them not score the ball and Jordan Love scored them points. Like, you can't – I think the stuff I blame on Jerry is the culture problem, which is a huge problem there. But he's put them, like you said, in position. You just named 07. They won 13 games in 07. You just named 2014. I think they won 12 or 13 games in 2014. Like, is that bad? Is that bad job on the owner?
Back to when we had a great culture, what I thought people would say a great culture, and we had Parcells, and the last game he coached for the Cowboys, Tony Romo bobbles the
field goal.
The field goal. Yeah. So you can't put that on Jerry. So when people, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I know people love criticizing Jerry because he has a profile that most owners don't have. But at the end of the day, as a true blue Cowboy fan, unless I own the team, I wouldn't want anybody else to own the team other than Jerry. And that's just, and you've heard me say something similar many times. I'm not a fan of everything that Jerry Jones does, but at the end of the day, Jerry Jones has created something that we should win more and we should win bigger than we do. When you look at what he's created as an entertainment product, when you look at the support that the Cowboys have, when you look where he's taken that franchise from the day he bought it to where it is now, Jerry has won big. He hasn't won the Super Bowl, but he most certainly has won big. And I commend Jerry. But these issues, Jerry's one of these days, just like me, if I'm somebody's problem, one of these days I'm gonna no longer be someone's problem. Jerry's approaching that same situation. He's no longer gonna be our problem. But what are you gonna say? But like I said, after Jerry's gone on, is that gonna fix the Cowboys' problem? And I don't think that will. It's certainly, you look at the Buss family, and what they created, what Dr. Buss created, and now he's went on. You see what they have now. Like I say, those kind of guys, and I know I'm all over the place, but what I'm simply saying is those figures in sports, those men who built those storied franchises, they were willing to take the shots and the bullets, and you cannot deny what they created was something memorable and that would last beyond them. Now, does Jeannie have the vision, the charisma that Dr. Buss had? And is Steven going to have the maverick mentality, the entrepreneurial innovation of his father? I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to enjoy however much time we have with Jerry. laugh and giggle at his sound bites and try to figure out. He's gotten more cryptic as he's gotten older.
A lot more cryptic.
Yeah, he's gotten cryptic,
cryptic.
And I think he understands that a lot of his true feelings probably won't be popular amongst the
they will not
amongst the fan base. So that's why it's kind of cryptic. I think Jerry says, "I'm paying these guys a lot of money."
Because that's what I would say.
And I'm paying these guys a lot of money, and this guy wants a contract. And maybe if Michael Parsons just strip sacks Burrow, and somebody picks up the ball and runs a touchdown, we don't have to worry about a guy I'm paying league minimum to recover a stinking muff punt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so that's
true.
I see. That's how I internalize a lot of this. Is that Jerry's saying maybe the guys who I'm paying the most money to should do the most.
He ain't wrong to think that. That's the exact way I would think if I was the owner of the team. Maybe the guy that I'm paying $60 million a year should come out here and win us a game in the playoffs. Maybe the guys I'm paying on this defense. I mean, we've seen it over and over. And like you said, man, Jerry's put them in position. And we have plenty of cases of terrible owners to go off of. Jerry Jones isn't one of those cases of a terrible owner. I think he makes some very poor decisions at times. But terrible owner, I would consider a Woody Johnson at the Jets to be a terrible owner. I would consider whoever running the Giants to be a bad owner. Like
the Bears.
The Bears. Everybody just touched the Bears since 1985 to be a bad owner. So those are bad owners. I wouldn't consider Jerry to be a bad owner. I would consider Jerry to make some mistakes sometimes, and he has a lot of decision making that he makes. But at the end of the day, they're in the green. So his job is to be an owner. They're in the green every single year.
Let me say this. I'll say this about Jerry. Jerry gets in front of the bullets, and that's why he's able to be criticized the way that he does.
Yeah.
I think a lot of owners stand behind the GM.
Oh, they wouldn't be able to
stand behind the president of football operations when they are actually calling the shots.
Yeah.
Because some of the things don't make sense that teams do. Like, for instance, the firing of Robert Saleh. I don't think they won a game since they fired Robert Saleh. Like
firing of Joe Douglas. He drafted all them people out there that's all pros and all them. He drafted all of them. Now, how'd he get fired? Because you wanted the owner. Woody Johnson wanted to bring in Aaron Rodgers. But now I'm fired after I done drafted Sauce Gardner and Quentin Williams and Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson and all these dudes, but now I'm fired. Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. They do throw stones and hide their hand and get right behind the GM, get right behind the president of football operations, whoever they're going to get behind. But that is something that is commendable about every time.
Yeah,
every time.
And so when we draft Taco Charlton, when we draft even a Mozzie Smith, when we signed over the hill Roy Williams or whatever, like we have someone we can blame. Like we know who we can blame, and a lot of times, many other owners don't get in that situation. Like one of the beautiful things about it seems like people who have money, and y'all can follow this wherever y'all want to. People who are rich and famous and have power and influence, sometimes they don't have to stand up and be accountable.
Oh no. They don't.
And y'all can take that wherever y'all
I mean, it's the truth.
With all the news going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so, but Jerry, to his credit, he stands up and he's accountable, and he said a number of times this season, if the Cowboys don't win, if we don't win a Super Bowl, it's my fault. And what can you say? And a man will take a bullet. Now, as I praise him, there's a lot of things that I don't agree with Jerry about, and mainly one of the things I fundamentally don't agree about is that he runs the football team as a family business. He runs a $10 billion operation as a family business. And who's to say, and this is just I understand he built a lot of it, but who's to say the talent that it takes, talent and knowledge that it takes for this $10 billion business to flourish at full capacity, all of it came out his loins.
Yeah. No, seriously.
All the talent, all the innovation, all the business acumen. I get, you know what I mean? So that's what you have to understand. But that's that's your right as an owner, though.
Yeah.
That's your right as an owner.
It is.
And you got to respect it.
It is. It's his right, and we don't know what Steven's going to do when it's his turn to run it. We don't know if it's going to go better or worse. I've heard people say, oh, man, when Steven gets it, we're going to do this, or he was really those ones drafting those guys. And, man, we don't know any of that, honestly, y'all. We are just really here guessing.
Only thing I know is we were horrible drafting, even with Parcells, until my man Will McClay.
Yeah.
Will McClay became part of the player personnel operation.
And he should be somebody that definitely stays around and be president of football operations. Whatever the upgrade is from where he's at now, that's what he should be.
Well, so from what I understand, he's de facto GM, right? The way they see him in the structure of the team, because like right now, the only position that he can interview for without is like president.
Not getting vetoed by the Cowboys.
Well, so he's the kind of guy, like if you hire him as your GM, you would have to give Dallas draft pick.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? Like you would have to compensate Dallas because it's considered a lateral. Now they can't stop him becoming president of football operations or whatever. But the only job I think you can hire him, you can't hire him as GM and not compensate the Cowboys. And I think they made that because I think he has some type of title of like president of player
development. Yeah, we looked it up last
or,
time we was here. Something like that, something similar to that. So
yeah,
he Will McClay, I agree 100%. The drafting got, way better when Will McClay took over operations there. And like we said, man, this Jerry's team, if they're gonna go down, it's gonna be with him swinging. I mean, why not? He the one with the billions. Why be somebody else? And to your point,
we gave it to him.
Yeah, and y'all gonna keep giving it to him. They're gonna keep giving him some more billions. Like you just said, you went to the Cowboys game and seen the atmosphere there. It was the same way when I went for the Texans game. And they in there like it's a playoff game. Like they 9-0, and this is a This is a game to get into the playoffs right here. So they're gonna keep giving them the money.
And I'll say this, even though there were a lot of Cowboy fans, there was a whole bunch of Bengals fans.
Oh yeah, I bet.
And that's one of the things why the Cowboys are really, really great. He's made that stadium a destination for visiting fans.
Yeah.
So even if there are a lot of teams that make that's their travel game, like that, people, you can't. Usually people don't travel with every game of a team, but they make Dallas their travel game. And anytime I've been there for the Cowboys. I've been there for the Bears, a few other games. I've been there for the Redskins one season. There's always plenty of opposing fans, man.
Yeah,
so,
every time they make it open, like you said, it's a destination. It was a lot of fans when they played Detroit this year, and that was still early in the season when it was still optimism on where their season could go, and it was packed with Detroit fans in there. So Jerry Jones still doing his thing. The Cowboys come up just a little bit short on this game against Cincinnati on Monday night. Folks, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, got to talk some college football and these playoff brackets and look at some of these matchups. Also look at a couple of these matchups from the bowl games as well. So stay tuned and stay locked in right here on Centex Primetime. We'll be right back after this.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis.
Act like y'all.
Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network.
That's right, sports fans. We can talk about sports.
And Infinity Sports.
Lighthouse Streaming, a full-scale media agency and your go-to source for all things audio and video. Is your church long overdue for audio and video upgrades? Call Lighthouse Streaming for a free consultation. Does your corporate or church event need audio or video production? Don't stress. Call the guys at Lighthouse Streaming. In business since 2017, Lighthouse Streaming has produced hundreds of live events and completed dozens of church and venue installations. Whatever your AV needs are, Lighthouse Streaming has you covered. Give them a call at 254 254-252-4206. That's 254-252-4206. Or go to lighthousestreaming.com and set up your free consultation.
NSJ Event Co., one of the premier event designers in Central Texas and a Centex Sports Network supporter. Voted Waco Awards Event Planner of the Year 2021, NSJ Event Co. is your go-to source for event planning. Whether it's your next baby shower, birthday bash, wedding, or retirement party, NSJ Event Co. will bring out the elegance, class, and style your event deserves. Call NSJ Event Co. at the number on the screen or scan the QR code to schedule a free consultation. NSJ Event Co., where the party lady takes care of all your event needs.
Are you hungry for the best fried chicken in town? Check out Crispy Chicken No. 1, 11th and Clay, and their Monday and Tuesday special, the Snack Pack, which includes 2 pieces of chicken, fries, roll, and drink, all for only $6. Also, each Monday through Friday from 4 to 6, you can feed the family for $10 and receive 6 pieces of chicken, fries, and rolls. Crispy Chicken No. 1 features additional daily specials and also includes mouth-watering short ribs, fried catfish, and chicken fried steak. Locally owned and operated and a Waco tradition since 1975. That's Crispy Chicken No. 1 at 11th and Clay.
This is live from the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports Studios.
That's right, sports fans.
About to show these boys how we do it.
Tune in to Primetime Sports Talk with Jalen Gillis, your go-to source for breaking sports news in Central Texas and exclusive Dallas Cowboys coverage on the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into Centex Primetime here, still in hour number 1. Just got done wrapping up talking about the Dallas Cowboys and their almost victory yesterday against the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football. Hope everybody's doing well out there today on this Tuesday afternoon/evening. Here, still in studio, joined by Rocky Miller as we look over to some college football, and the college football playoff bracket is set. We've been talking about this all year long. Who will get these picks and who will get these certain slots in the bracket? And I will say, we talked about it yesterday, and I do agree with, and I'll get your opinion on it, Rocky. I do agree with the 12 teams that are in it. I disagree with where some of these teams are placed at, and that was my issue, the only issue I took with them. Obviously, Clemson being at 12, I'm cool with that because Clemson, if they didn't win the ACC championship, they wouldn't even have been in. Where I take some, where I'm not pleased with the rankings is obviously at number 3, Boise State. I think that's absolutely wild to have Boise State at number 3 like they're not playing in the Mountain West. I brought up a scenario yesterday where me and PJ were on here where I looked back through the history of the Mountain West in the last 5 or 6 years and seen that San Jose State in 2020 went undefeated, finished with an undefeated record before going into the postseason, and they were ranked number 24 in the nation. That's the highest they got to. Now the same Mountain West, well, Boise State wins this Mountain West, and they're ranked number 3 in the nation. No idea how they get that, and somehow capturing the bye week within doing that. I think Indiana should have been higher. I don't know where exactly you placed them, but I was listening to Coach Kurt Sinetti talk about it, and they got the highest margin of victory in the Power 4. They lost one game, and that was the number 2 team in the nation, which was Ohio State at the time, and kind of different than some of these other teams in here as well, even the Penn State. So I think Indiana could have been a little bit higher. I'm not too mad about them being at number 10. And I was happy that Arizona State got a bye because I think they earned themselves into getting a bye after winning that Big 12 championship. So what was your thoughts when you seen the final 12 finally come out for this college football playoffs?
Well, okay. So let me go back a little bit and address something. Address the criticism of the back when I was younger, it was purely a vote of who's the best team, right? And then later on, at some point, after 100 years of that, I guess, of voting who's the best team, then they decided we're going to make sure the first and second place team play each other, who were voted on, right?
BCS.
BCS. And I think that was better than even though it wasn't perfect, it was better than just the pure voting system. And then we got to the point a few years ago, I want to say maybe around 2012,
I think it was around 14, somewhere in there when they finally added it. Yeah.
Then they went to a playoff system, and I think the playoff system wasn't perfect, but it was better than the BCS system, right? Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, for sure.
And even though there were some teams that were the biggest problem with the 4-team system is there were some very competitive teams that were left out, right? They were left out, and they used all kind of arbitrary reasons, in my opinion, to get what they ultimately wanted to do was get the best TV matchup,
for sure,
right? At first. And then toward the end of the playoffs, they wanted to prove another point so they could expand. So they made the criteria more based on wins or this, that, and the other. And they really ended up putting a team like Cincinnati in there who really shouldn't have been in there. They weren't supposed to be
TCU got beat
in the
up
mix.
bad.
And anyway, so there were some much more competitive teams that were left out, whatever. So they created this system. And we agree that the 14 playoff system wasn't perfect, but it was better than
BCS.
BCS. And then now what we have is a 12-team system. And I think people are, for whatever reason, are expecting perfection in some capacity.
No chance.
And you won't get – this is not a perfect system either. But see, because not everybody plays everybody, right? Not everybody – a more fundamental situation, not everybody has the same resources.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So there's nothing – let's say this. There's nothing fair about college football other than the 60 minutes on the clock and each team having 11 players. That's where fairness ends in college football. Because that's what it is. But to your point, now, if this was the Rocky Miller playoff, there's a couple teams I certainly would have put in here. I wouldn't have put Indiana because they haven't beat anybody.
No, they haven't.
The one chance they had to beat somebody, they had two chances, and they
had one chance, and they lost.
Yeah.
To Ohio State. Yep.
Yeah. They had one chance, and they lost, and it wasn't even. They didn't even put up a good fight, in my opinion.
Nope.
Ohio State played a poor game, and they still blew them out. So, okay. Indiana, but they're part of the Big Ten, so that gives them preference. So you take that. So in other words, I look at it like this: you have to let Indiana in because they're part of the Big Ten, and they lost one game.
Because you got to kick out the other teams if you don't.
Yeah,
you got like a Penn State who played nobody and had two chances to play somebody and lost both of them.
Absolutely, right? So that's where we are with that. Now I would take Indiana out. Of the mix. Now, if I had my choice, right, I'd take Indiana out and put Colorado in.
Yeah.
Right? But that would because I believe, right, that has nothing to do with I think Colorado has just as good a chance as Indiana winning that championship.
Same.
Let's be honest.
I agree.
So if neither one of them gonna win a national championship, I'd much rather have the conversation around Colorado than the conversation around
100%
around Texas, around
Indiana.
Around Indiana. All right. So are these 12 good teams? Absolutely. I think these 12 teams, they're all could be in the conversation of being in the playoffs. I would have loved to have seen Alabama and Colorado in the mix. One, I'm not an Alabama fan by no means, but I know what Alabama offers as far as football competition.
Yep.
And nobody in this, nobody can head up. Can Boise beat Alabama? Head up.
Not a chance.
Can Arizona State beat Alabama?
No. Well, no.
No. And I'll even say this. Head up. Penn State.
You could have said them first. I don't think Penn State could have beat anybody.
So that's what I'm saying, whatever. But I do like the fact that they gave SMU a chance
for sure
in here. because to me they're the true wild card in this setup. And what do I mean by wild card? They have the ability to upset somebody based on talent alone. Talent alone. SMU, when you look at them, they remind me, believe it or not, of some of those old Baylor teams.
Yeah.
That
Facts.
they will run past you and make you look silly.
Yeah. I was gonna say Oregon about 10 years ago too, but yeah.
Same kind of deal. And them playing SMU, them playing Penn State is going to be an interesting matchup.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are picking Penn State. Like it's not going to be much of a game. But I can see a scenario where this game gets away from Penn State really quick.
I 100% agree. I don't know who was thinking that Penn State hasn't played anybody. Nobody in the Big Ten has played anybody. That's the problem with the system. Like you said, it's an imperfect system.
Yeah, it's an imperfect system. And if SMU, so I want to answer your question. Yes, I don't think these aren't the 12 teams I would have selected, but I think this is a fair selection. I think this is a fairly selected team. Now, me personally, to your point that you were getting at about seeding.
Yeah.
Here's my point. Think about this. I don't think this is going to happen the way it happened a lot this year, but I think they got to set a precedent in this regard. You're going to have to always take the SEC champion and put that person
bye week.
Yeah.
The top 4. Yeah, for sure. I agree. I agree with that 100%.
You know, even if Alabama had got to the championship and they beat Georgia, Alabama you still going to get a bye.
Yeah. Most likely. Even this year if they would have did it with 3 losses, if they would have somehow got to the SEC championship and won, I think they still get a bye. I think they kick Arizona State out of that bye and get that to an Alabama.
You know what I'm saying? Because at the very, Alabama had 3 losses when they still like right at the top 10, right? They were like 10 or something.
They were right outside of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's what they did. I don't think you're gonna have many years where the SEC champion could have had 3 losses. Now this is one of the things they are saying. For everybody else, the only person that's gonna get a automatic bye is the SEC and the Big Ten. All you other jokers
better figure it out.
If y'all get Clemson, if you don't dominate your conference,
not Clemson,
you're gonna be in the first. You're gonna play a game in the first round. But again, I'm not so. I don't feel bad about that.
Yeah, I'm not mad about that either. I think Big Ten, like you said, automatic bye for sure. Especially, Oregon, obviously they're undefeated. SEC, whoever comes out of there and wins the championship in the SEC, because that's almost like the NFL G League at this point, with how many good teams are in the SEC. Automatic bye. And the other 2, as you said, this is imperfect, and I feel like they're kind of just making it up on the fly because they didn't know exactly where to go with this for the first 4. I think Arizona State, just looking at other people's resumes, they were hesitant to put Texas back in there. They didn't want Texas to just lose and then Texas earn a bye. They definitely could have gave Texas that 4th spot over Arizona State.
And you bring up a really good point. I think that's what they're at all costs. What they don't want to do is give a championship loser a bye.
Yeah.
Because
they set them right outside of it at the 5th spot. Yeah.
They don't want to give a championship loser a bye under the. Now I think there's going to be rare situations. To be honest with you, the participation of a Boise State is going to be rare.
It should be.
I think it's going. I think it just naturally it's going to be rare. The schedules they play with the talent they have, typically, they're going to be a 10-2. They're going to be a 9-3
somewhere. Yeah,
that's typically what it's going to be. And if they end up having those years that they have to bump up against a real Power 4 team, they might get bit. You know what I mean? So I liken their situation same way to BYU. Most of the teams that they traditionally play, they're going to be able to beat them. when they go and play a tougher team, they're not gonna be able to consistently beat. Just think about it. If they're not gonna be able to consistently beat a team like a Baylor, they're not gonna be able to consistently beat a team even like a Arizona State, or even a Colorado, or teams in their region. I'm just talking about teams in the region. They're not gonna, even a USC or any of those teams that typically they're gonna have to feast off Utah State,
Wyoming,
yeah,
San Jose State, all those teams.
Yeah, and then when they match up, now I think Boise had a matchup with a couple.
They played Oregon. That's it.
Yeah,
they played Oregon, and they got smacked by Oregon.
Yeah,
but, so with that being, I agree with them getting in. Like I said, I think the 12 teams that are in, or honestly the 12 teams that should have got in. Could you make a case for Alabama? Yeah. Could you make a case for South Carolina? Yes. There's a few teams you could have definitely made a case for getting in there. Some people were mad about Miami. I mean, I wasn't that mad about Miami because I don't think they were that good to begin with. But you can make a case for Miami getting in there. They weren't going to let Clemson in. Clemson wasn't going to get in unless they won, but they had to stay honest to their rule of, if you win the Power 4 conference, you get in. I think that's the reason why we see a Boise State, because they would rather just be, okay, the top 4 Power 4 conference winners get to bye. But with Clemson being a 3-loss team and some bad losses in those 3 losses, they couldn't give them the bye. So now they got to make something up, and they ended up giving it to a Boise.
In other words, the way I see this, Clemson played their way in. They took Alabama's spot.
They did. That's exactly what happened.
They took Alabama's spot.
That's exactly what happened.
Now, SMU also, and you may disagree, but I believe SMU played their way in. It just so happened
they did
that they lost the game, but they played their way in.
I think they had to let SMU in because if you de-incentivize teams to play the conference championship if you do that. They were at like number 8, so they were in before the conference championship game. If you lose the conference championship and then you take them out, well, teams are going to say, well, I'm not going to play I'm already in. I'm not going to play the conference championship. Let somebody else go in there and compete for those 2, and they can get in, and I'm going to get into the playoffs. So I think they had to still put SMU in there because they didn't want to – they're thinking about so many variables in the future on seeding because people are going to go back and say, well, this year you did this, and this year they did just like we did with the BCS, just like we did with the 14 playoffs. So,
and this is just me because I'm cynical. I believe they put Arizona in because they didn't want Arizona to upset one of the other matchups.
Yeah.
That they so in essence, think about this. They put Arizona in lieu of having them upset like a Tennessee.
That's what I was going to say. Ohio State. What they put them at 9, they play Ohio State and they gone first round. They like, well, that blew up a couple $1 million in revenue we was going to get.
Yeah. So you think about this. Tennessee and Ohio State going to play in the Granddaddy of them all. Just think about that. That's a big game.
Yep.
Right? And I'm not going to say not a big bowl, but they gave the Peach Bowl a game with Arizona and 2 other massive fan bases.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Because this is about matchmaking as well, right? So, and then you go down to the Fiesta Bowl, right? Which the Fiesta Bowl is a situation where you put Arizona in that bowl, then you giving them some type of home field advantage.
Yep.
Or if they get to play into it, it's some type of home field advantage. So I think that's what they did. They had to keep Arizona away from the Fiesta Bowl, right? And the best way to do that was just give them a bye and let them play. Again, I'll say this: if Texas, if what is this bowl? If the Cotton Bowl was one of those first round bowls, and Texas was getting the bye, they wouldn't have no problem putting Texas in the Cotton Bowl.
They'll do that in a heartbeat because they'll make $1 billion in one day. They put Texas back in that Cotton Bowl.
So guess what? The Texans can play into the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah,
Think
they
about
can.
that.
Yeah, they can.
That's the path.
They can.
The path is for them to play in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, right there on that side of the bracket.
Yeah.
And I expect them to beat in that. Like, I think the top 3 teams at least in the nation are Oregon, Georgia, and Texas. I think those are the 3 best teams. And 4th is just kind of a pick your preference on who do you want to put in there.
My opinion is I don't know what to make of Notre Dame.
I have no idea what to make of Notre Dame.
Mainly because of the game that they played against Northern Illinois.
Yeah, you lose to Northern. That's the worst loss that anybody in this entire bracket. That's the absolute worst loss that anybody has. So Notre Dame could have been 10, in my opinion. I know Indiana hadn't played anybody, but Notre Dame
everybody lost so many games. So yeah. Here's the problem. You didn't drop Notre Dame enough when they took that loss. See, that's why.
Nope.
That's why you gotta drop a team when they take a bad loss, man. You gotta
get them out of here. You gotta get them at 20. You gotta get to the back of the room, bro. Because if not, and then from there, I knew it was bad because they dropped them to somewhere in the teens. But when they moved them back up to like 9, and it was midway through the season, I said, "Oh, they're gonna get a bye." I thought they were gonna get a bye week. I was actually shocked that they picked Boise State to have the bye over Notre Dame. I was already thinking it was going to be Notre Dame, and I was ready to get mad about that.
Well,
but instead they put Boise.
I don't think Notre Dame will ever get a bye
because they don't have a conference championship.
Yeah,
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I don't think they ever should get a bye. I think
the option for Notre Dame to get a bye is not there. The 4
highest undefeated
conference champions get the bye.
Yeah, but I'm just still wondering with Boise State, like, how do we consider them starting to be a conference? It's the Mountain West. Like, if that's the case, why didn't Army get a spot? Army's got 1 loss. Army won the Conference USA. I think Conference USA is a better.
Lost to Navy, though.
Still, I think they got just as good. I think they play in a better division, though, than the Mountain West.
But let's just look at this, though, because I think we have to look at Notre Dame's schedule in its totality.
Mm-hmm.
And they beat a ranked Texas A&M.
Yeah, they definitely have better wins than
they
Boise
beat
or Army.
A ranked Louisville team.
Mm-hmm. Beat a ranked Navy team and a ranked Army team.
Yeah, so when you look at that, you have to say, and like I say, they have a pretty decent strength of schedule when you really analyze it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, the guy the guy in this contest that's a complete fraud to me is Indiana.
And you can say that. I'm not 100% agreeing or disagreeing with that statement because I agree they haven't played anybody. But how I feel about Indiana is how I feel about the entire Big Ten.
Somebody on their schedule that
nobody. You don't even have to finish. And I feel the exact same way about Penn State, and I feel the exact same way.
Well, again, I think we can be. I think Penn State is a different situation in this regard. If we look at Penn State's schedule, they have some quality wins. I think they have a quality win or a quality win, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So Penn State played West Virginia out of conference.
Okay.
And they beat a ranked Illinois team.
They did.
Right? And let's give Penn State credit in this regard. They didn't get mollywopped by Oregon.
No, they didn't.
So they were pitted against, in my opinion, and they played Ohio State close. So again, I think Penn State was challenged. They were put to a challenge, and they showed up in both games. Again, Indiana went to a game.
785.
When they got put in the challenge, to me, they didn't even show up.
Yeah, I mean and that's a fair assessment. That's a fair assessment of Indiana. I think that they did, in other recent competition or similar competition, I think Indiana did slightly better. But we're going to continue this conversation in a second, folks. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk some more about the college football playoffs. We'll talk about some of these other bowl games because there's some interesting other bowl game matchups, and we'll end it off talking about my NFL top 5. So stay locked in real quick, folks. We'll be right back after this short break.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis.
Act like y'all.
Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network
That's right, sports fans. We can talk about sports.
and Infinity Sports.
It's the family feels for me. The banana pudding peach cobbler make you want to holler for me. It's the candy yams, mac and cheese, beef tips, pork tips and rice, collard greens. It's the sweet potato pie, sweetie. Fried chicken you've been missing, the lemon sweet tea dressing on Sundays when you all dressed up. Chest pie, buttermilk, and pound cake. Cornbread with butter just dripping, always fresh baked. If you need southern style, soul food, home cooked meals that you can feel. Chicken and dumplings, chicken pot pie, 719 South 11th Street. Sassy's, come on by.
Lighthouse Streaming, a full-scale media agency and your go-to source for all things audio and video. Is your church long overdue for audio and video upgrades? Call Lighthouse Streaming for a free consultation. Does your corporate or church event need audio or video production? Don't stress. Call the guys at Lighthouse Streaming. In business since 2017, Lighthouse Streaming has produced hundreds of live events and completed dozens of church and venue installations. Whatever your AV needs are, Lighthouse Streaming has you covered. Give them a call at 254-252-4206. That's 254-252-4206. Or go to lighthousestreaming.com and set up your free consultation.
Are you looking for something new and unforgettable in Waco? Come to the Blazing Asian, where authentic Cambodian flavors meet creative culinary flair. Voted People's Choice as Waco's #1 Asian restaurant since 2019 by both the Wacoan Magazine and the Waco Tribune Herald. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin, we're serving up family recipes with a twist. Blazing Asian egg rolls are rolled fresh daily, and their sauces or marinades are made in-house with love. Stop by today. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin. And for Baylor students, enjoy 10% off with your student ID.
NSJ Event Co., one of the premier event designers in Central Texas and a Centex Sports Network supporter. Voted Waco Awards Event Planner of the Year 2021, NSJ Event Co. is your go-to source for event planning. Whether it's your next baby shower, birthday bash, wedding, or retirement party, NSJ Event Co. will bring out the elegance, class, and style your event deserves. Call NSJ Event Co. at the number on the screen or scan the QR code to schedule a free consultation. NSJ Event Co., where the party lady takes care of all your event needs.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. KWBT-FM, HD2 Waco, Temple, Killeen, Fort Cavazos. The new leader in sports in Central Texas is Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
What is that?
It's time to get in the game.
Do you know what time it is?
Tune in to Primetime Sports Talk with Jalen Gillis.
To me, you are nothing.
Your go-to source for breaking sports news in Central Texas and exclusive Dallas Cowboys coverage.
Start it up. Let's go.
Catch us Monday through Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. on the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into Centex Prime Time, hour number 2 here on the show. I want to thank everybody for joining in with us here today. As always, make sure you guys go on over to the YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Also, click that bell so you can get notified every time that we go live. You want to be able to listen to this content weekdays, 5 to 7 p.m. Go over and download the app on your mobile device, Centex Sports 1. You can listen on Infinity Sports Radio, Central Texas. Also, if you want to be able to watch some of these clips that they put up week in and week out, you can follow my Instagram. It's at the handle if you're watching on YouTube, at Jalen Gillis. Rocky, go ahead and give them your Instagram handle so they can know where to find you.
Simple. Rocky Miller, ROCKYMILLER on Instagram. Well, on Instagram, it's Rocky Miller 1. On Twitter, it's Rocky Miller.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it's Rocky Miller on TikTok. I'm just getting handled this. Just getting a.
I would say his Facebook. He ain't gonna have no more room on his Facebook. I know you got at least 5,000 friends on there, so don't add his Facebook. You ain't gonna be able to find him. Add no more friends on there on the book.
I just got a text. It said, "Did you talk about the Bengals?" Yes, I talked about the Bengals. All right, and I've said what I had to say about the Bengals already. So you missed that. You're gonna have to catch
you got to hit the rewind
and listen to the first hour. I said all I have to say about the Bengals and the heartbreak that occurred last night. I had a great time at the game, but I was hurt. I was hurt. Like so when I was growing up, they used to have this show that would come on every Saturday called The Wide World of Sports.
Okay.
And one of the sayings was, you could snatch victory out of the jaws of defeat. And I got I had the jaws of victory. I had victory in my grasp, and I had it snatched out my hand.
They got your hand bit right in the jaws of defeat
at
the end of that. So, like you said, folks, we just got done talking Bengals, Cowboys in hour number 1. Also just got done talking about these college football playoff rankings as we were going through these, and we were talking about some of these teams and how they're ranked in, and how, the SEC is playing such a tough schedule, and the Big Ten teams, like Rocky said, in Indiana, who's played nobody, is getting a slot in these college football playoffs, and some other teams in the SEC that played some extremely tough schedules, Ole Miss, Alabama, South Carolina, Missouri, Texas A&M, who was right there to get into the college football playoffs before they lost to Texas. Those are 5 teams that had a decent resume that some could make an argument to say worthy of getting into this college football playoffs.
Yeah, and since I'm a betting man, I'm going to do all those, my fellow bettors, a favor.
Here we go, y'all. Make sure you lock in.
I'm going to go look at the lines. I haven't looked at them, so this will be my first time looking at them.
I haven't looked either.
Instinctively, you'll be able to see what my instincts are. I'm not saying I will bet the way that I say right here, because I do have to do my research. But instinctively, I'll give you guys what I think about the line.
So let's start with I'm looking at them on here now. First game, I believe, is Indiana, Notre Dame. Notre Dame right now, 7.5-point favorite. 50.5 points is the point total for your over or under on there. So just at first glance of this, you're putting your Nostradamus hat on. Who you like in this Indiana Notre Dame matchup?
No doubt Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is 10 points better at least. They're in South Bend.
They are in South Bend.
So I think they're 10 points better on a neutral site, and they're certainly. I believe Indiana has the kind of team, if you can just control their rushing game and put the game on the quarterback to win, then and I think and again, I think early this season Riley Leonard was underperforming. I thought when he was at Duke last year, I really thought he was a sensational quarterback. I love the nickname White Vic. You know what I mean? That's what they would call him.
Yeah. That is what they was calling him.
Yeah,
I do remember hearing that.
Yeah. And so I love Riley Leonard, and turns out he was struggling early. He struggled against, even though they were able to defeat Texas A&M, he struggled in my opinion. And so and then he definitely struggled against University of Northern Illinois. And so, again, let me ask you this, because just hypothetically speaking,
mm-hmm.
If they lose that game against Texas A&M, are they in the playoff?
No.
I think they're still in.
They lose to A&M and they lose to Illinois. That would end up being an unranked A&M team. The A&M will probably finish unranked still because they still probably lose the other games.
I think on a 10-game winning streak, you cannot keep Notre Dame out.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they put them in because people love Notre Dame. I don't get why, but
no, I'm just saying they have the benefit of the Notre Dame brand, even if they lose to, because you're gonna say they lost to a team that almost played in the SEC championship.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, I can see them still getting in, but I guess they've played a better schedule than maybe some of the teams in the Big Ten. I wouldn't say a lot. Louisville is.
I think they played a better schedule than Indiana and Penn State.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, but that's not a high standard in my head because I don't think they played anybody. But I agree with that. They did play a better schedule than them, but they did. I watched that Notre Dame USC game. Nothing was impressive about Notre Dame whatsoever. Matter of fact, I think they should have lost the game. They were going. It's 35-35 with about 5 minutes left. USC is going down the field to score, and USC throws 2 pick sixes in the end zone back-to-back drives. That's how they end up winning 49-35. They drove down the field on them in 5 minutes, 80-something yards, 2 drives in a row, and threw a pick six 2 drives in a row.
Yeah, but
and
Miller
USC
Moss
is
ain't
bad.
playing for Indiana.
Miller Moss is not playing for Indiana. That is true. He is not playing for Indiana. It is Burke or Rourke.
And they don't have those wide receivers either.
They do not have those wide receivers that USC has. There's no Zachariah Branch anywhere on Indiana Hoosiers University or campus. So I agree with that. I would like right now. I would take Notre Dame 7.5 points. I think if it did get up to about 10 or maybe more, I would take Indiana in this. I'm not sold on Notre Dame either. I do think Notre Dame could win, but I'm not sold on them coming out and playing dominant like that. Second game after that, I believe that game is on that Friday, which happens to be my birthday. I don't know why they couldn't put a better game than that on my birthday. It would have been something decent to watch. But the next game after that is Penn State SMU on that Saturday morning. Penn State 9-point favorite in this game. Which way are you leaning?
Hey man,
looking at this one,
I'm putting my money on SMU. And I'm gonna place 2 bets on this game. I'm gonna take the points on one, right? On a modest bet, and then I'm gonna put maybe half of that wager on the outright win.
Okay.
You know, so to make it easy, so guys, I'm gonna put $10 on SMU in the points, and then I'm gonna take $5 and put them on the outright win.
Plus 270 on their money line.
Yeah.
I ain't mad at that. I think I like SMU in this game, not only in the points, but I like them to win outright in this game. I actually like the over, too. I think Penn State showed us in that game against Oregon. Penn State can score. Drew Adler can score. They got 2 good running backs with Nick Singleton and Datron Allen, and that 53.5 points.
See, this is the problem I have with that.
Okay.
Now you got to follow me on this.
Okay.
The problem I have with that, the points is, ain't no telling which kind of weather you're going to get at Happy Valley.
That is true. That is very true. It is at home. It's at Penn State. They were just playing in the Dome in Indianapolis when they did score all those points. So that part is very true.
So
that part is very true.
A lot of the situation is going to be dictated by weather.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the weather's going to be. If it's 50 or balmy 50, I'll say. Now I'll even say this. The lower the temperature, the outright wind may be affected by the temperature, but I think it helps the point spread.
Because it's going to be a closer, lower scoring game, and they +9 right now. So I agree with that. With the lower weather, that +9 looks better. And as they get closer to it, if it's going to be 30 degrees outside, it ain't going to be -9 for Penn State. They're going to shrink that point spread down some.
And they're going to shrink probably the over-under.
Yeah, they are. They're definitely going to shrink the over-under. Next game after that would be Clemson versus Texas. The rematch of the number 1 and number 2 quarterback in the nation that both happened to be in Texas that year. I think that South Lake Carroll played Westlake, Austin Westlake. I think that was 2020, 2021, somewhere in there. Cade Klubnik versus Quinn Ewers. They get their rivalry back reignited. They're playing at Texas. Texas, an 11-point favorite in this one. I think we probably both take Texas in this one. But what do you think as far as the 11-point spread?
I think that's a lot of points.
Yeah.
I'll say this. Klubnik is not much better than Carson Beck, in my opinion. And so I'll have to take Texas and the 11. I would have to, because I think this game could get out of. You put a couple points up on Clemson.
They don't have many weapons on offense.
Yeah.
No, they don't. Yeah. They don't. That's my thing. I mean, that's why they were in the situation they were in all year. They don't have many weapons. They got a young
and SMU's defense and Texas's defense.
Night and day.
Yeah.
Couldn't be any further away from each other. Texas might have the best defense in the nation.
And I just hope Sark doesn't get tight and call the game. Now he's the rare dude that gets tight and gets less conservative.
Yeah,
like he gets more risky. You know, I think he
showed that in the Georgia game.
Yeah,
took 4 or 5 end zone shots in that last drive, like back to back to back to back. It's like, hey, what's going on?
I think what you should do is play to your strength, and what your strength is, getting your ball to your playmakers. Not necessarily hitting home runs, but you can run slants, crosses, screens, Wisner's a great screen running back. So I just think, and with 2 weeks to prepare, I think Sark will be fine against Clemson, and I think he'll be able to move the ball. Clemson has a really good defense, but I don't think they have a defense that can hold Texas under 30. And I don't think Clemson will score more than 20 points against Texas.
No, I don't see how they could. Their best player on their offense is the freshman, the young kid out of Midlothian that they got, Wesco. He's their best player on offense, and he's a $170. This is the best DB group in the nation that you're about to go up and play against when you're playing Texas.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I just don't see how they're going to move the ball at all. I love Texas on the money line, obviously, and I'll probably take them on the points if it doesn't get too much further outside of that 11 points that it's at right now. So I like Texas on the points. Last game in the first round schedule, Ohio State, it's probably the best game too. Ohio State and Tennessee, both teams, a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. Tennessee's got a really talented defense. At one point was like the best turnover defense in the nation about halfway through that season. They got a freshman quarterback that I think is already better than Will Howard. Will Howard has proven – I was never sold on Will Howard going into the season, but he made me more and more unsure of him, especially as we got to that Michigan game. But Ohio State does have the majority of the weapons. I like Ohio State in this game. Right now it's -7.5. I don't know if I will go right away with that 7.5. Tennessee's played in a much tougher conference. They've been battle tested much more than Ohio State has, but I do like Ohio State in this game.
I look at Ohio State, and I look at Ohio State and Georgia as being similar, in talent wise, and then how their team is kind of made up. Meaning that they both want to use their quarterback as their guy.
Yeah.
But those guys are limited.
Very.
They probably should lean on the running game more. But they're more inclined to put the ball in the air because they feel like they have more options outside. But they both play tough defense. Again, and in that Georgia game ended up being 31-17 against Tennessee. I look for a similar outcome. No, to be honest with you, I can't even pronounce the quarterback's last name.
I never say it. I just say Nico. I never say it.
Yeah, but
I don't want to mess up his last name.
I think he's a tremendous athlete. I think he has a lot of playmaking ability. But on that defense, that's just not how you're going to move the ball on.
Nah, and like you said, they're both stacked. You say they're similar to the Georgia team. Those are right there with Texas as the most talented rosters in college football. I mean, there's reports came out that Ohio State potentially spent close to $50 million on their roster, so they obviously have the talent out there. I just think the only thing holding them back is Will Howard. I think Ohio State's talented enough to win everything. I think the only things holding them back is Will Howard at quarterback and Ryan Day as their coach. Is the only two things I think that hold Ohio State back. They've got two of the best running backs in the nation.
I don't know why they don't run Will Howard. Like, Will Howard is a guy that you should probably, if you're going to.
He was running at Kansas State when he was at Kansas State.
If you're going to put him in the game for 30 plays a game, 10 to 15 of them have to be runs. You don't let him throw the ball 30 times.
40 times. That doesn't make. He wasn't that quarterback at Kansas State. What makes you think he's that quarterback now?
And I think maybe since everything is on the line right here, maybe they will run him a little more. But I think that's where you use Will Howard because again, he was a baller, man.
Yeah,
he was a baller.
He was balling at Kansas State. That's the reason that they left. That he got a chance to move up to Ohio State because they were expecting that same level of play. And I wasn't sure about him going into the season, but now I'm sure where he sits as far as how I view him as a quarterback. My thing is, you got Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. These are two of in my opinion, the top 5 most talented backs in college football. And you got both of them. And for some reason, there's limited carries. They get away from running the ball. I know you got a lot of weapons on the outside with Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Ibuka and Carnell Tate. Those are all 5-star guys. I get it. But sometimes you just got to run the football, man. I don't
and have some
understand
variety in your run game.
Yeah. You got two good backs. You got a quarterback that's capable of running, and he showed it before when he was at Kansas State. You know, sometimes you got to run the football. So I like Ohio State in this one. What you think about the 7.5 points that they gave Ohio State?
I would have to take Ohio State if I was forced to bet. I'm going to watch this and kind of watch it unfold.
Yeah.
Kind of look at the weather because, they are playing in Ohio.
In Columbus,
I no doubt. My instinct says that Ohio State is 7.5 points better. But as the game gets closer, and I do more research, I'll make my decisions. Next week, catch me next week. I would have made my decision on all my bets. And as in the last 2 bowl seasons, they've been pretty profitable for me. And I'll tell everybody that you get some really good lines early. If you're a college football fan, you get some really good lines early.
Yeah.
Because most of the lines are set up initially off reputation alone. If you watch the games, pay attention, you'll figure out who the better team is.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree. You got to get in early on college. I've learned that. I've usually stayed away from college football, but this year I tried it out and I learned.
This year I think it's going to be really cool because I think more players are going to play in the bowl games. In past years, years, you had to be careful. There's some games I ended up backing off of because key players weren't playing. But I think we'll find out as it gets closer to bowl season. I don't think any of the guys are going to announce in the next 2 weeks because they're going to let people buy tickets they're going to let them buy tickets for a while.
Yeah, they're not going to say anything.
Yeah, they're not going to say anything.
They're going to wait.
Just like the whole deal, like you and I, we put in our media request for the Alamo Bowl, hoping that Deion probably will be there, but hoping that both Travis and we get to see Travis and Shedeur play in their last college football game. But who knows whether they'll play and how much they'll play.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another point. How much will they play if they do decide to go out there and play? But I'm excited to be able to see that they're playing against BYU. That's honestly a matchup that I thought would be the Big 12 championship game would have been BYU versus Colorado. But before we go on the break, I want to look at some of these other bowls that are outside of the college football playoffs. One of them, like you just said, Colorado versus BYU. And that game is going to be dependent on if Shedeur and Travis Hunter play. We know they're both going to be a top 5 pick in the nation. And there's a lot of other seniors on this team that are probably going to get drafted as well. So if everybody plays, Deion, I think it was either Deion or somebody in the camp said that we're playing the bowl game. We're not sitting out. Maybe it's Shedeur. It was one of them. I can't remember who said it a couple of weeks ago, said whatever bowl game we get, we're playing that. So we'll see how that one goes. But I want to look at the other team out here in Waco that ended the season great. The Baylor Bears ended the season on a win streak, ended the season playing great, 8-4. Get an LSU squad that actually was playing good for majority of the season, but they just dropped a couple games that they shouldn't drop. I think this is a really, really good matchup. They're playing in the Kinder's Texas Bowl, which is going to be at NRG Stadium on the 31st at 2:30. Baylor 8-4, LSU 8-4 coming into this game. I think LSU is probably going to have more guys that are going to say, I might sit out this game instead of playing in this one, and I think that's why the line is as close as it is right now. LSU is a 2-point favorite. What's your first thoughts when you see Baylor getting matched up against a LSU team?
Well, I'm surprised. I'm surprised because, let me say this. I'm surprised because Baylor ended up 8-4.
Yeah.
Because I honestly thought they were going to be struggling to get a bowl game, but they I guess you could honestly say they had a chance to go to the championship game all the way to the last couple of weeks of the season. So, they had a pretty successful season. And they kind of figured out who they were later in the season.
They definitely did.
I think this game will be a good matchup. I think LSU's the better team. I've watched both of them. I think LSU's the better team. I think LSU's the more talented team. I think but believe it or not, I think the quarterbacks are pretty equal.
Yeah.
I just think
Sawyer Robertson and Nussmeier.
Yeah, I think they're playing equal anyway.
Yeah.
And I think LSU has a better defense.
Definitely.
Definitely. And so with that being said, but LSU has played against tougher competition.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, they got 4 losses, but two of those losses was to USC when they were ranked high and Alabama when they were ranked. But the reason they're out is because they got A&M when they were ranked high and Alabama when they were ranked high. The reason they're out is the loss to USC and the loss to Florida is the reason that they're out. But they were on like the first team out, as they say in college basketball when they're making the brackets. I think LSU was around
But
there.
if I had to take, I'll take LSU with a couple points. I mean, I'll give up 2 points. To Baylor. Baylor's been all season, man. Baylor's been a really good betting team. Like they cover spread
week in and week out.
Yeah,
I could count on BU to do that. Once they got on that win streak, they were great. And
I mean, they even before they got on the win streak,
against Colorado,
against Colorado, they were good because I want to say they were.
Yeah, they were underdogs in that game.
Yeah, a couple touchdown underdogs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they were big dogs in that game, and they covered in that one. And not too many running backs in the nation are playing better than Bryson Washington at the time, so I think that can make it interesting if he can run the ball. Baylor's going to be tough to beat. They figured out their offense, like you said. They finally figured out their offense. They were trying to find an identity for a while there, but once they found the identity, they ran off 6 in a row.
I say 2 games I thought were going to unravel their season. The Colorado game, and then how the Iowa State game kind of turned out.
Yeah.
I thought those 2 losses were going to Iowa State.
Same.
But Texas Tech came to town. I mean, they went to Texas Tech.
Lubbock, yeah.
And they lit them up, and then they never looked back.
Never
after
looked
that.
back. Never looked back.
They never looked back after that. They figured out how to put them in. I wonder how much of that was finding out they had a player over there in Bryson Washington. And
I think that was a lot to do with it. I went to the press conference, I think, after the first game that he played in, and he did pretty decent in that game. I think it was the Air Force game, and I went to the press conference, and he was, Coach Randall was high on him. He was saying, like, no, this is our guy. And I'm thinking at that time, like, we got Richard Reese, who's been the bell cow for a couple years now. Dawson Pendergrass has been playing pretty good ball, but he was sold on Bryson Washington. And I see why. This must have been what they've seen in practice. He started the year out hurt. So this must have been what they've been seeing in practice all this time. And he ended up he finished the season off playing great. So I'm excited to be able to watch that game.
I think he started off really well.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had a tough stretch during that time.
That losing streak.
Yeah.
He did.
And that may not have been his fault.
Mm-hmm.
That may have been due to, the team struggles.
Yeah.
And they didn't get much from the quarterback in those games as well.
They didn't. Hard to run the ball when your quarterback's not playing well to go along with it. So that's one of the more interesting matchups with them. Is there any other ones that you were looking at that you thought were going to be interesting? I seen a couple I wanted to see how A&M and USC was going to look out there. I wanted to see how the Pop-Tart Bowl and Iowa State and Miami, how that was going to match up against each other.
Taking Miami.
Yeah, I like Miami in that one too. I think Iowa State, we figured out who Iowa State was by the end of that year as well. Tech and Arkansas will be a decent bowl. They're playing the AutoZone Liberty Bowl.
A bowl that looks like to me is a really intriguing matchup is the Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's an intriguing matchup. I think Vanderbilt is a really good team. They had a really good season. And so did Georgia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
I actually would take Vanderbilt +2 in that game, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, I like Vandy in that game too against them. Like you said, Vandy.
It's been
great
played
season.
It's been played not far from Nashville.
Yeah,
in Birmingham.
Yeah, it's down the street. So,
so
they'll have some good fan base out there. I was actually hoping that Army would get a better game. I know it's Army and it's Navy, and everybody says they just play who they play. But I think Army played a pretty decent schedule, and Army played good football all year long. They lost to Notre Dame and they got blew out by Notre Dame, but they played really good football. I was kind of upset to see that they got
the Army-Navy game this week.
That's this weekend.
Yeah.
I was upset to see that they got their bowl game was against Marshall. I thought they could have gave them a better bowl game than that after winning the Conference USA. I think they could have got a chance to go up against one of these Power 4 schools and just test it out and see what it's looking at.
What did you think about this? Well, I wanted to. We'll talk about this, but Willie Simmons, former Florida A&M head coach, being hired at FIU, and then another black coach that was at Marshall.
Yeah,
he gets hired at Southern Mississippi.
Yep.
Getting a few more black colleges hired in. Well, Huff was already a head coach at the Division I level, but
yeah,
Coach Simmons, after being at FAMU for 5 years and then becoming the running back coach at Duke for a year, and then he gets the FIU job. I think it's always good to see a black coach get an opportunity in major college football. That's something that's really rare, much rarer than it probably should be. I don't have the count. I'll have the count next week of how many black coaches there are in major college football, considering how many jobs there are available. I think at one point there was like maybe 130 jobs, and there were less than 10 black head coaches.
Yeah, I mean, with this many jobs out here, you got to start giving these guys a chance. And once you see how these guys having success, like you said, being a former coach at FAMU, then getting the shot to move up in the ranks, going to Duke, and now getting the shot as a head coach, I think we should see more of that. There's some really, really good coaches, and you'll be able to speak more on that, not only but tonight as well on HBCU Coaches Corner, but just I think there's a lot of coaches that need that shot. And a lot of times they just don't get the shot. It's not like these guys can't coach. A lot of these guys are more accomplished as players than a lot of these coaches that are coaching at this D1, these Power 5 positions. These guys are accomplished. These guys are Super Bowl winners. These guys are perennial playoff guys when they were in as players. So I think there's more of these guys that should get chances moving up in there, because it's not like a bunch of people are doing just crazy good. That's why there's so many jobs every year.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of turnover every year in college football. A lot of it is recycles. And then you take a coach like, I forget the guy's name, guy named Arbuckle. I just was doing some research on Arbuckle. He just got a major college coaching job somewhere. I kind of can't remember what. But anyway, 6 years ago, he was door dashing and Ubering. And now he's a major college coach. Coach Arbuckle.
At Washington State. Is that, or did he just get the?
No, he got a good job.
Did he leave Washington State? Is he the one that got? I see him here for Oklahoma. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He's calling plays for. He was.
Ben Arbuckle.
Yeah. But he was. I want to say he was at Western Kentucky, and then now he's the offensive coordinator at a major.
Yeah, he just got the OC job for Oklahoma.
Yeah,
he was at Western Kentucky in 22 and 21 as a co-offensive coordinator. Gets the OC job at Washington State. That parlays him into the offensive coordinator job at Oklahoma. Like you said, dude was door dashing into. I mean, that's what I mean.
In 2019, 2018, he was DoorDash.
Yeah, he was a quality control coach at Houston Baptist in 2018. So, that's not just the highest on the pay scale as far as what you're making there. And he's parlayed that into a real career for himself. Now, we know what happens once you get the offensive coordinator job.
Well, the thing is, the guy goes from he's probably volunteered at Houston Baptist 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And now he's making well over $1 million now.
For sure. That's, it's a life change.
Yeah, he's getting life-changing money over at Oklahoma. I guarantee you that.
Oh, for sure.
They changed lives at Oklahoma, especially as bad as their offense was this
year.
There's
no reason you should have as many top guys as they had this year, and you come out short like that.
It's surprising to me that my man can have a season like that, and he can avoid criticism. They must really like what's the head coach's name over there? I can't think of his name, but I met him in person and everything.
For Oklahoma?
Yeah, when he was recruiting Derek Johnson. Oh man,
why I can't think of? I'm gonna have to look it up now because I don't went blank on his name. But this is his first year as coach at Oklahoma.
No, it's his second year.
Oh, second year.
He didn't do much last year.
No, he didn't.
Oklahoma head coach.
Brent Venables.
Brent
Venables, yeah. I don't know why I went blank on it, but yeah. Brent Venables.
Yeah, and I sit down and had a dinner with Brent before.
Okay.
He was really young then. He was a DC back then, co-defensive coordinator at Oklahoma back then. And so that's when they were recruiting Derek Johnson here in Waco. And he sat through I want to say the Waco High football banquet, man. Shout out to Waco High That's back in the days when
yeah. Well, they had some dudes out there. They went to
those guys.
They went to state that year, or the runner up.
No. So Derek, I want to say, came out in 01. So it would have been before they went to state.
Oh, it was right before they went to state. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember they had a good run with Derek there. I remember he had we got an episode on Centex Sports Network. If you want to go to YouTube, talking to him about a game where he had he said 30 tackles or something.
30 tackles against Tyler
Man, come on.
Tyler John Tyler. And I watched every tackle, brother. He had every one up.
That's an absolutely ridiculous stat.
He's a monster. He was a monster
to have
Derek
like that.
Was an absolute monster. We're gonna have to get Derek next time he's in town, man. We're gonna have to get him on the show
for sure.
See if he'll come in and talk some Texas football. He has a podcast that he does after every Texas game.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And so we'd love to get Derek on the show and talk about Texas football. Hey, and also some Chiefs football. I'm sure he'll talk to you about that. As they are looks like they're going to lock up the number 1 seed. In the playoffs. Yeah, and that's a perfect segue. I don't know how you read my mind there, but we're going to segue over into some NFL football right before we get out of here today, folks. Want to thank everybody who's been watching with us. Want to go over to some NFL football while we have a few minutes left here on the show. And we talked about the Cowboys there earlier, and usually on Wednesdays when I give out my NFL top fives, and I'll do that in just a second. Want to start with a quick take though before we get to them, and talk about this brewing drama, I guess you could say, that we've seen with the Philadelphia Eagles and how they've. I don't want to say meltdown or anything. Yeah, I'm trying to get that said. Trying to call in right here. About to talk about his Eagles. Need to reset this on the computer, but the Philadelphia Eagles and how they've kind of, I don't want to say fallen apart because they fell apart at the end of last year, and I think they won 9 games in a row, 9-1, something like that, or 10-1. Ended up falling off Ended up falling off right towards the end of that. Right now, they haven't fallen off. They still look good. They're still in good position to win, but they've had some very questionable things happen. It all started when they had a close game against the Carolina Panthers and won 22-16 in that game, and it wasn't too happy after the game. There wasn't too many smiles after the game. It actually looked like a lot of fighting going on after the game. Not physical fighting, but you could tell something was off. They asked Jalen Hurts about, what needs to get fixed. He said the offense has got to play better, yada, yada. They asked A.J. Brown, hey, what's going on? You guys look like somber and stuff. He says, what's going on is we need to pass the ball better. They asked him what he needs to improve. They said he needs to improve the passing game. So that's what he talked about. And after that, to round it all off, they had Brandon Graham come on and have some comments about how he felt how he felt about this entire situation. So I'm gonna let you guys take a quick listen to what Brandon Graham had to say about A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts.
Complaining need to be accountable, and I'm just being honest. You know what I'm saying? And he noticed. I don't know the whole story, but I know that one is trying, and 11 could be a little better with how he responds to things. And they was friends before this. It's but things have changed, and I understand that because life happens. But it's the business side that we have to make sure that we don't let the personal get in the way of the business, and that's what we got to do better as right now, because we know it's an issue. Everybody's seeing with some things, but we need to be able to talk things out as men. The person.
So, folks, if y'all watch the show, you've heard me say before, these player podcasts are just, they're getting outrageous. If you're going to have a player podcast, you got to do it after the season or something, because you have people that come out and say crazy. This is stuff behind the curtain that should never be revealed. We all know they were beefing and they don't like it. They used to be we didn't know that. We didn't know anything. Now we know, because you just had to get on the microphone and tell us. So the Eagles got some stuff brewing. Calling in with us now, have a resident Eagle fan, a friend of the show here that's always on with me weekly. Mr. Said Eigerhart said, I know you just listened to, what one of your captains had to say about your team. What are your thoughts, man, about, first of all, how's it going, man? Because you haven't been on the show. in a couple weeks. Want to see how's it going. And then what are your thoughts about what we just heard with Brandon Graham talking?
Yeah, personally, I've been doing really well, Jalen. And in terms of what Brandon Graham had to say, I had a friend of mine said, "Hey, here we go again. This is reminiscent of Donovan McNabb versus Terrell Owens. Rip the whole locker room apart." It's not that. And even Brandon Graham earlier today, came out and apologized for what he said, because he was like, I really didn't understand what the dynamic was between these two guys. And I kind of spoke out of turn. And so this is what it is. This is just another example, and we see this very, very often in the NFL. This is just another example of a diva wide receiver demanding the ball. This is what they do. And this is what makes them so great. They want the ball all the time. What Jamar Chase always says, I'm always open. You know what I mean? And this is just A.J. Brown being frustrated with not getting the targets that he felt that he deserves. And there may be something to that. But if you go back and look at what A.J. Brown actually said, like look at his post-game interview, he didn't just kind of throw Jalen Hurts under the bus. He was short and curt with his answers. He was trying to be professional about it. He was clearly frustrated, and that happens, especially when you are, one of the best at your position in your game. You get frustrated, and but we're still talking about a team that's won 9 games in a row. I don't know. At this point, I think this is just kind of overblown. I don't think the team is in jeopardy. And they were like, they were 13.5-point favorite against Carolina. I took Carolina in the points. 13.5 points in the NFL. That's just
telling you, I did the same.
Well, let me say this. Can you hear me say it?
Yes, sir, I can.
Yeah. As a Cowboy fan. As a Cowboy fan.
Okay. I knew it was coming. Go ahead.
Here's my point, Sid, and you have to understand me. I know y'all want this to go away, right? But at the end of the day, hey, if me and my wife fight on Main Street, right? We have a knockdown, drag out on Main Street. People are going to talk about it.
Yep.
Right? And the more, and if you go to my wife and she gets to telling me about what the fight is over, y'all going to have more to say about it. You understand? So why doesn't Brandon Graham take his own advice and just do what A.J. Brown should have done and shut the hell up?
Yeah.
And now, I think here lies the problem. If me and my wife never fight on Main Street, and she never slaps me or pours a drink in my face or anything like that, you guys never know she's upset with me, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You never know.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
so I think that's the key here, guys. Like, once it gets outside of the locker room, it is a problem.
And you're exactly right. You're exactly right. And this is, like I say, the person who's at fault here is Brandon Graham. You should never.
It's absolutely AJ. It's my man.
Brandon Graham.
No,
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown. It's absolutely
Listen. Here's why I don't put it on AJ Brown. Okay, if you go to a frustrated player after a game, he's gonna come off as being frustrated. But AJ, okay, listen. There's a big difference between AJ Brown saying, "Well, the problem with the game is the passing." There's a difference between him saying that than saying, "Yeah, our quarterback stinks. I don't know what he's looking at." You know what I'm saying? So there's a wide gap there. AJ Brown was frustrated, but he was still kept it within the professional realm. Just to say, this is what I'm about.
Let me be honest with you, Sid. The reason why he has the liberty to say that, has the inclination to say it, is because guys like you said that'll sit and make an excuse about or try to interpret what he's saying. The issue is he called out his quarterback but for not being able to get the ball. He could have ended. He said, "Hey, I wasn't open. They would double cover me." He didn't have to say that. He was not being professional, right? When my wife slaps me down there on Bridge Street, she's not being professional either.
But here's why I disagree with you, Rock. Because the best receivers in the NFL, they're going to tell you they're always open, and if they don't get the target that they want, and you go and put a microphone in their face at the end of the game,
now it's the
they're going to
microphone's
always
fault
come
now.
off as being disgruntled. You know, we've seen Jamar Chase do that on a regular basis. We've seen Justin Jefferson do that. You know, when you know that you're one of the best in the business, and you feel like you're not getting your targets, you're going to be frustrated. You can't put a microphone in my face. You can't put a microphone in my face minutes after the game. You know that I felt like I was being overlooked. You know, pretty much for the most part, I'm going to be upset. I'm going to be upset.
Let me ask you this. If you care about your quarterback, do you say what AJ says?
But look at what he actually said, Rob. This one.
No. I asked that. No. I asked you a question. I said, if you care.
I think the answer is no.
If you care about your quarterback, if you care about having a positive, meaningful, productive, professional relationship with your quarterback, do you say what you said?
You should not say what he said.
Okay, so that's it. So that's all I'm saying.
But understand this. And this is my last little line of defense in terms of defending AJ Brown. This is not just a one game deal. Okay, AJ Brown, since he came over injury, has not been targeted as he should. You know, being one of the best wide receivers in the game, and a lot of that is because of the emergence of Saquon Barkley in the running game. So, you're not going to get as many looks. But I'll go back, let's go back beyond the Carolina game, the LA Rams game. There were times when A.J. Brown was open and Hurts went elsewhere if he threw the ball at all. So this is not just a one game frustration. This is a multi-game thing for A.J. Brown. And so I understand him saying that now. Should he have said that? No, because when you say that, now you open up this whole can of worms, and it looks like there's something. We're really not nothing. But I put more of the blame on Brandon Graham for saying, it seems like it's beef, but I thought they were friends, but now it seems like it's beef. And then he comes out and backtrack and says, "Well, I really didn't know what."
Can I defend Brandon Graham the same way you defended AJ Brown?
I don't think I should, but we're gonna let you go.
So my point is, I think what Brandon Graham was trying to do was defend the indefensible, right?
Yeah, okay.
Meaning that he was trying to provide some logic, some context, right? And whether or not he was accurate with the context he provided, right? The more you, and here's the rule, the more you talk about it in the public eye, the more you give that fire fuel. And that's what because I don't think Brandon Graham in any other situation was trying to cause a problem. What he was saying is, hey, we all need to be professionals. We may not be as good of friends as we used to be, but we're all professionals. We're all trying to win.
Kept it too real, though.
Yeah.
He poured gasoline on the fire when saying what he said.
That's because guys in the media like us will
pick up on it.
Yeah.
Not only pick up on it, we'll embellish. We don't even know what the problem is. Their problem could simply say, could be, I want to listen to Tupac and he wants to listen to Biggie. It may not be over anything of any significance, guys.
Exactly. So that's why I fought Brandon Graham, because what Brandon Graham should have said was, hey, listen, it seemed like for whatever reason, these two guys on the same page. I really don't know what's going on.
That's what he said, essentially.
But he said they used to be close friends and now they're not.
Yeah.
That is bad.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to reveal any information like that.
Well, that's what you say. That's the locker room secret that he's
close friends to not friends at all. Something big happened. It's bigger than Tupac and Biggie with that.
No.
It's close friends to not friends at all. something happened, and we were never going to know that. We just thought they were looking at. I'm just looking at it thinking.
We knew last year that their relationship had deteriorated.
I did, but
I think they're like. Let's be honest. Let's be perfectly honest. Let's look at this in its full context. Their relationship hadn't been the same since the Super Bowl.
Has not. No, it has not.
Correct. That's correct.
And it hasn't. But I thought that was more of he don't like the way Jalen is playing. He don't like them not getting the ball. I thought it was more of that.
There's a difference between a professional disagreement and a personal disagreement.
Yeah, this is personal.
And I just thought that it was just professional. You know, like he's not. He doesn't agree with the reads that Hurts is making, or he don't think Hurts is targeting him enough. That's professional. And what Graham said made it seem like it's personal. That's a whole other dynamic.
And I think he was trying to come to the defense of Jalen Hurts, like you said, kind of the end, because Jalen Hurts is not going to defend himself. He's a company guy. He's going to say the right things and focus on that.
I don't think Jalen's in a situation. So think about this, right? Even in we all in the media business, right?
Mm-hmm.
If our disagreement is around our personal feelings about what direction our show should go in or whatever, that's really not anything for us to get personally upset with each other unless you disrespect me in the process or I disrespect you in the process. So, again, I believe it could be all about ball. I believe it may be all about ball.
I think it is too.
I just think how a lot of times how people handle those disagreements, right, they become personal.
Yeah.
Because again, at the end of the day, as the court, when they were really close, Jalen Hurts was making about $700 to $1 million a year.
Yeah.
And when their relationship broke down, Jason he signed for over $260 million.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And that could be, I think there's a song, More Money, More Problem.
Yeah.
Or Dre said things ain't the same no more, something like that.
Yeah.
And so with that dynamic, right, I think that guys who have huge egos can find conflict or find, resentment in spaces where they should be working together. And again, let's look at this. The Eagles gave AJ an extension even when they didn't have to, just to show him love, and I think to encourage him to work on their relationship together, to say, hey, you're going to be here, Jalen's going to be here, let's work it out. But this may be because I believe this, said, me and you are classmates, so you're around the same age I am. Sometimes, and I don't mean this in a negative way, all that needs to happen for two men to resolve their situation is for them to get in the room and communicate with each other honestly and upfront.
Yeah.
And or box it out and get it over with.
No, but I wasn't going to suggest that. However, no. What I'm saying is, because again, it could be guys just having hurt feelings, man. And one thing,
and that's what Brandon was trying to say. He just said some wrong things before that, but he ended by saying that these two just need to have a conversation, and that's all it needs to be. Yeah. But he started with the fire starters.
Well. See, he thought like I thought, like nothing. So again, when you say these things, and the coach isn't gonna, the coach may not even be aware of how deep it goes.
Yeah,
you understand? Coach may not even be aware. But now it's in the public sphere. It has to be talked about. And this may be the time where two men can get together, sit down, and have a conversation, whatever. That diva wide receiver stuff you use to kind of justify or excuse this behavior are things that I think enable people from time to time. I'm usually a guy that's not on the side of the quarterback at all, because I think a lot of times the quarterback gets too much beneficial treatment, too much clout. But in this situation, you're 9-2. Is that what I think you guys are 9-2?
11-2.
11-2. You guys don't even deserve to be 11-2. Y'all were giving a running back by the New York Giants. Y'all should be like 5 and 8.
Cowboys could have signed that same guy.
Hold on. Don't get mad at Howie Roseman because he did what Jerry Jones failed to do. He could have paid Saquon Barkley. He could have fall together right now.
Hey, he could have.
Okay?
Look, before we got to get off here. We're about to run out of time. Before we do, I got to ask you, said about Philadelphia. First off, I think, like you said, the Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown thing, like you said, right, I think it's about ball. I think just straight up A.J. Brown said, hey, man, Jalen Hurts is not good, and I'm not getting the ball enough because this guy's not good. I think it's as simple as that, and Jalen Hurts probably took offense to that. Said, before we get off here, I got to ask you this. Is this reminiscent of last year? Everyone's talking about it. You start off 9-1, you lose all the rest of your games. The failure with T.O. and Donovan McNabb when they start beefing and the team dwindles away after going to 3 or 4 NFC Championship games. Is this reminiscent of that, or is this just an argument between these two guys?
I think this is just an argument between two guys, and I don't even think it's necessarily an argument. I think it's just A.J. Brown's would hurt feelings is what I think it is. I don't think this is really bothering Jalen Hurts all that much.
No.
And the reason why this is not what happened last year. Last year you saw the whole locker room just implode. And, for no reason, it seemed like they went on this losing streak and nobody could explain it. Well, there was an internal problem. That was the whole locker room. That wasn't just two guys, okay? That was the whole team, and Sirianni just kind of lost control of that thing some kind of way. He was able to regain it in the offseason, and then we see what they're doing this year with the 9-game winning streak. We see how Jalen Hurts has been playing lights out since the bye. And what we've seen this year that's different from last year is we've actually seen the defense, which was playing very poorly early on, is starting to play a lot better in spite of having 4 starters out due to injury. They got 6 guys on IR. They don't have a lot of depth, but we're seeing these young guys come in like Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, back up like Avonte Maddox coming in. The emergence of
all that is when you can just hand the ball off and get a 70-yard play. Like, that's what the reality is. You can just simply stick it in Saquon's belly and get 70 yards.
It's a Cowboy fan over here said, it's a Cowboy fan over here.
This is really beyond. This is really beyond the play of Saquon Barkley, who is definitely playing at MVP level. Because if you just look at the way the Eagles played earlier in the season when Saquon was still there, they were giving up tons of points. They're not doing that anymore. So we're seeing the team kind of coming to their own with these younger players having to develop and grow up early, and it's paying off dividends. That's what we're seeing. So this is definitely not what happened last year. This is not even the beginning of that. This is just a diva wide receiver who you put a microphone in his face saying what diva wide receivers say.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with most of that. And to back up your point, on the last 2 weeks on the top 5, I'm not going to have time to get to that today, but the last 2 weeks on the top 5, Wayne Walker's had Philadelphia Eagles as number 1, man. So he's been backing you up these last few weeks. He's had the Eagles number 1 team
Wayne
pretty consistent.
Usually doesn't like running quarterback.
No, he don't. You're right. He usually ain't rooting for them running quarterbacks. But like you said, I think this is I don't think this is the same as last year because, like I said, I think last week on the show, this team is better than that team that went to the Super Bowl. This team is being led by not only Saquon Barkley, but to the point you just made, is being led by their defense, and everybody on their defense has stepped up. We thought, Nakobe Dean and all these other Georgia guys weren't going to do anything. Nolan Smith, and they've been playing great. We thought Zach Baum wasn't going to do anything. He's one of the league leaders in tackles. We thought that Cooper DeJean is too white to play DB, and he's been playing great.
Man, y'all ain't been giving up points. Y'all gave up some points to the Buccaneers. That's it. Everybody else y'all done played solid against, man. What are you talking about?
But the defense was still in question. In that Atlanta game, their defense was in question. And the Buccaneers game obviously was in question. And they had to win that game against the Browns at the end. And that's when Deshaun Watson was playing. The Browns were scoring 2 points a game. And their game was close there. So the defense was in question.
They give us 29 to Green Bay. The Atlanta game was close.
Yeah.
33 to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And then 23 to Jacksonville.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So the defense was soft earlier on, and now they're starting to kind of becoming a more cohesive unit, and they're actually able to get people to go 3 and out now.
Man, y'all held the Bengals at 17, man. So I ain't gonna say y'all did something we couldn't do last year.
That's when they started turning the corner.
Hey, man, get out of here. Hang up on it. Hang up on it. Hang up on it.
Hey, I want to appreciate everybody for tuning in with us today. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Tomorrow, we got MCC basketball. We'll be back. We've got HBCU Coaches Corner coming on at 8 o'clock. So make sure you guys getting ready for that. We'll be back in studio on Thursday. So make sure you guys are ready. Want to thank Rocky for coming in. Want to thank Sarah for calling in with us.